Hi, I'm Dave,
And I'm Tyler.
and this is the Capcom Show.
Hello, everyone. This month we're doing agorism and electoralism as our topic. Now, first off, I'm going to go in and describe electoralism as what it is, pretty much. First was coined by Terry Carl, who was a political science professor at Stanford. It's meant to be more of a transitional term between a very authoritarian rule towards a more democratic and more egalitarian rule. The big hoopla about it is it's touted as to being one of a partyocracy, I guess, one where a group of people. It's not like India's democracy where it's like an election that is just coalitions of parties, kind of. I don't know if you know anything about India's. No. Okay. It has like 300 different parties, so a lot of times they just end up forming coalitions to further their goals. Pretty much what electoralism is it's like, hey, it's this idea that you can get a couple parties that illustrate the beliefs of the people, and can thus take power away from an incumbent authoritarian party and bring it more towards like a people's understanding of equality. The problem with that being is normally the incumbent is the one that holds the power in the time, so that they can do as they wish with party votes and whatnot. And the reason why essentially I bring this up in this episode is because March was the host of the Super Tuesdays where a lot of the primaries take place, and electoralism is something that is a precursor and is very symptomatic of liberal democracies. Liberal democracies, of course, being what is mostly the ruling ideology in Western civilization today. Most commonly, the only case of it that I have that I can make a good case out of was the Russian Federation. Now, last episode I talked about how there's that whole thing where you vote your way in, but you shoot your way out of communism, and I said that that's actually completely untrue. Mm-hmm. This electoralism is the reason why I say that. For those of you who don't know, in 1991, from 89 to 91 was the collapse of the Soviet Union. And what happened was essentially it was electoralism, but it was mostly just people saying that they were tired of the authoritarian communist rule and instead wanted to be more of a democratic society. And of course, Gorbachev couldn't do anything about it. And so Yeltsin took power, voted in, and his regime was marred by mafia ruling almost everything. And I believe eventually it was Putin that took over. And Putin's been in power for fuck knows how long. I believe he's been the leader of Russia since
20 years.
Yeah, since I can remember. And I know I haven't been on this earth that long, but it's been a decent time. So, anyways, the whole reason why I bring it up is because we are at the point in history with America that we are now facing a two-party system. And
we've been facing a two-party system for almost ever.
Right. And there are a lot of components to try to remove that. Mm-hmm. The problem is you can't play the system with the power that they give you. You can't.
Which is none.
Yeah. I'm all a fan of voting if there's actually a decent candidate out there. If there's someone who represents your interests, even if you know that they're there as a puppet, vote for them. Because you fucking never know. Sometimes, miracles happen. Whoa.
I think it also depends on just how much is the good actually going to outweigh the bad. That's the question you got to ask yourself.
Yeah. And I know you said you vote negatively, like you vote.
I would say, yeah. Like I said in the last episode, the only time I view voting should be done is if it's in a negative fashion, and in which case it's voting against a policy that is going to be affecting everyone negatively.
And that is that's still a good theory to have, I guess.
I think both of us would agree on that.
Oh yeah. Oh fuck yeah.
At least that part.
But anyways, the whole point of with the electoralism, and the reason why I want to kind of paint it more or less in a bad light with this, because I personally myself, I don't think it works at all. We have the GOP or the Republican Party, whatever you want. It's pretty much the same thing. And then we have the Democratic Party. Now, both of these institutions are corporations. Mm-hmm. They're private corporations. Now, there is a public wing of them that is everyone who works in the government, but they're essentially all their funding is privately based, and a lot of they get to make the rules about how electoral college does voting through that apparatus of the private corporation that they are in. And the biggest problem with it being, of course, the DNC is vote rigging that they have. Common examples being, well, not this year, but 2016 especially, when we had a lot of proof that it was Clinton was rigging the vote. Mm-hmm. And it just goes to show that, and I've held this to myself for such a long time, that the only thing that liberal democracies and electoralism ever lead back into is a complete police state, surveillance state. I would say definitely a proto-fascist state, mm-hmm. And we're seeing that a lot with the Weimar Republic in Germany before it turned into Nazi Germany. We're seeing it now with the election of Trump and the worsening of human rights abuses in our country. We're seeing it with Russia back with Putin. We're seeing it in Poland, Ukraine. It's starting to become a pandemic in of itself in the Western world, I guess. And of course, there is also on the other end of the spectrum, I'd say, is agorism, which I believe you'd have more information on than me. I mean, I'm just sitting here reading the Wikipedia article, trying to catch up on it.
That's all right. So, the term agora, by the way, is derived from the ancient. I'm sorry. The term agorism is derived from the ancient Greek word agora, meaning an open marketplace. And so, agorism is based on the idea of counter-economics. Agorism is effectively a means of interacting devoid of the state, without having any state interaction in any manner. And so, agorism has actually 5 different axioms, and I'm going to read them straight out of the Agorist primer right here, since I have it. All right, so technically he's got a 0th axiom, and that's: there are no contradictions in reality, and theory must be consistent with reality. And I wouldn't even say that's necessarily and strictly related to agorism. I think that's a general principle for everything. The very first axiom of agorism is: the closest approach to a free society is an uncorrupted open marketplace, or agora. Uncorrupted essentially meaning there's no coercion, there's no unnecessary violence, there's justice, essentially. Everything is devoid of the state, and that's all what it really boils down to. The second axiom is the agora self-corrects for small perturbations. So this axiom leads us to a far more detailed picture of what our nearly free society would look like. It means simply that free market entities will defend the market. Obviously, if anyone wants a market that doesn't have coercion in it, then they themselves will seek to make sure that doesn't happen as much as they can.
Yeah.
Is naturally, neither of us want to get freaking met with violence by other people's, if we can avoid it, then we will.
Yeah.
So where there's a will, there's a way.
Now, I do have a question for you in the book.
Mm-hmm.
Does he go any way in depth? Konkin, does he go in depth at all about his class theory? Because that was something that kind of piqued my interest in it. I'm looking at something right now, but I want to hear right straight from the book before I trust a freely edited article.
I never fully read this book. to be honest. I mostly kind of skimmed through it, so I must have missed any part where you talking about his class theory.
Yes.
Is this
because what I'm looking at right now is it's a table, and what it sounds like is he frames class theory in the idea of a capitalism, which is, and it's entrepreneur, non-statist capitalist, and statist capitalist, and I think that's.
I guess you could call that. Well, I guess you could call that a class. I didn't really see it as such, but
I don't really understand any of the class talk about this, because I mean, what would be an entrepreneur that isn't a statist? Like, there's a lot of things that it's really vague, and it bothers me, honestly.
vague in terms of what?
Well, for instance, an entrepreneur and a non-statist capitalist could literally be the same thing.
An entrepreneur is all that is essentially innovation. A person who takes something and either makes a process for production of it better or cheaper, or they take an idea and bring it into fruition. And that can happen in any way. You can have a worker commune and do the same thing.
Yes.
It's not exclusive to a capitalist mode of production.
Exactly. Now, but my whole thing is an entrepreneur could also be a non-statist capitalist, because, and the way he describes it is, entrepreneur would be the innovator, the risk taker, the producer, and the strength of the free market. But a non-statist capitalist could also be the holders of capital, and not necessarily ideologically aware. So, and relatively drone-like non-innovate. Yep. Never mind.
You see what I'm saying?
I seen where the divide is right there.
Mm-hmm. Entrepreneurship is direction, the reins of the operation, deciding where to invest the capital, in which and how many workers to hire, if that's the mode of production they want to choose. Like I said, this is generally why it's kind of confusing when I hear left anarchists say that Konkin was anti-capitalist. I'm kind of confused.
He's definitely not anti-capitalist.
Yeah, this is, after reading this, I'm like, he's talking about Austrian economics. No left anarchist I know believes in that.
Yeah. At the same time, though, when I was first reading through the theory of it, about the whole political and economic class, and I even said this to you off mic, that it was economic, or it was like the people who was the strength of the market, and the people who pretty much leached off the market. I'm paraphrasing right now, but and I pretty much said it was like, and I believe he said, what was it, economic class and political class, respectively.
Yeah, essentially.
And I pretty much immediately identified, seen a Marxist class theory immediately right there, which was, proletariat and bourgeoisie, respectively. And, I mean, I guess in that case, it could be associated with a kind of leftist thought, but I can't get past the whole fact that it's steeped within,
It's essentially it believes in profit, and it's presupposing, I guess, currency, you could say. So it's not left anarchist in those sense either, but it's methodology, I would say, can easily be taken from syndicalists and left anarchists. The entire idea of organizing trade and means without the state, devoid of state action or interference as much as human possible. I think that is something that at least most left anarchists I know would support that.
Yeah. And although I do like this, and I know you're like this too, because I'm reading this, I don't know if you got to it. Konkin opposed the concept of intellectual property.
He did.
Yeah. Which, by the way, if you guys haven't seen, I believe it was our first.
It was actually our first episode. We mentioned this and briefly went over why we do not believe in intellectual property.
Forever less one day as well, especially with the copyright laws, which they're fucking abhor.
They're bullshit. Because all that does is decreases people's innovative abilities.
Yes,
it really does.
And you can't have a free market if people can't, make parodies of your stuff freely, or, make, I mean,
they would say, parodies are different, but the thing is it's the underlying idea of what the representation is of the original creator. You know what I mean?
I mean,
I should have the right to recreate that if I desire, because now it's not his exact idea anymore. Now it's mine.
Yeah. And I mean, and then fan fictions are also a thing too, which I'm not going to get into that because I view fan fictions as weird, but
there are cases where actual fan fictions are better than the actual real story or whatever it is.
So
or I've heard the same argument in terms of video games, in terms of copyright, where offshoot games are actually better than the original games they made.
yes.
And so it hurts the community in terms of having free choice. And having free choice is the entire purpose of having a free market, is it not?
Correct, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that would be it, right?
Yeah, so it doesn't make sense to support IP. I mean, you can support you can argue in support of IP, talking about how it protects, it incentivizes people to innovate, but people are naturally creative if you give them the option to, so there's no necessary reason to.
That's one of the things. People are definitely not only naturally creative, but they're also naturally innovative.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot count how many times I've thought to myself like, oh man, it's got to be an easier process to it, and then thought about it and thought about the process to do, and like, oh okay, that's pretty cool. I'm gonna keep doing that.
Yeah.
No profit motive involved. Did I think like, oh man, can I make money off of it?
It's not going to make your money.
It's.
I mean, it can.
I mean, if I'm doing my job and it makes that job easier, I'm still going to do it. I'm going to make money off of it, technically, but.
I mean, yeah, you can make the argument that this idea can make me money, but it's like, how much investment are you going to actually have to do before even that comes into fruition?
Like the whole thing about it, and I kind of just thought of this, but it's the thing of, did the inventors of the wheel, did they get fucking paid for, inventing the wheel? No, they're just like, hey, this heavy, this hot back, remake real, it round, it carry, it good. And, maybe a lot more consonants and weird sounds in there. I don't think the English language was invented yet, but you get the point though. They didn't want to make money. They wanted to make their lives easier.
And that's the point.
That's the point behind it.
I mean, yeah, you can make a profit while doing it, but if you care more about the profit than helping people, it's kind of defeating the purpose, because eventually you're going to get to the point where you stop helping people, and then your profits are going to decrease because of that.
Yeah.
At least that's how it would occur in a naturally occurring market.
Right. Now, and again, the whole reason, because I've seen a few anarchists of different. Most of the time, they're just kind of like baby anarchists. Newbies, yeah. They're still kind of testing the waters a little bit. They still have a lot of statist things in them, because I like to think that status is a default kind of. You have to kind of think about things through before you can really get into anarchy a lot. I mean, a lot of times it
depends on your upbringing, honestly.
Yeah, but in terms of America, again, we live in an alt-right, kind of society. So most of the time, people don't understand it, and a lot of times they just think it's libertarianism when it isn't. But it is. It's supposed to be libertarianism.
It was originally supposed to be essentially a form of just classical minarchism, and that totally derailed.
Mm-hmm. But the whole thing with electoralism, and why, again, I don't, and we did this off mic, why I don't think it works, is we have a couple things wrong with them. First off, in this country especially, we have first past post. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
The phrase.
All right, first past post it's the idea of whoever. It's not a majority rules. It's whoever gets the majority first. So, say in this primary season, right? We have Biden and Sanders fucking neck and neck, almost tooth and nail most of the time. 10% no more in between them. First past the post, right now, Biden wins. But let's say in the next 2 weeks, Sanders just fucking skyrockets. Now, he'll get the nomination. But the whole point of it is, did he get the majority, though? And
majority at what time? Essentially, that's the question.
And then, not only that, but they also don't count for, like, Warren and Buttigieg and, all the other candidates who were running their delegates stay with them. At least I think that's how it goes. I don't know. I'm not too familiar on it. I'd have to look into it a little bit more. But the point is it's kind of usurping of a democracy to be like, hey, I only want this guy. Whereas there's other ways of doing elections and doing votes, especially if you're voting for candidates. Who, again, it's a flawed idea to vote for just candidates instead of just policy. But I myself am more of a supporter of direct democracy if we have to have a voting system. But I feel it's asinine to just vote for one person and not be like, all right, but if this person doesn't win, I want my vote to go to this person, and so on and so forth, and like a numerical order. That's not first past post. That's that's majority. That's like an actual majority rules. It's a common agreement. Like, say if I wanted Warren after Sanders, and say Warren was the one who was winning, and then Sanders drops out, my vote now goes to Warren, instead of just being like, oh well, okay, well you voted for this person, this they didn't win. Sorry,
Okay.
It allows more of a sense of freedom, I guess. Mm-hmm. Electoralism doesn't do that, and again, when you're dealing with private corporations such as the DNC, they can easily just say no. And the whole thing I've been saying is the reason why I keep thinking it's rigged against Sanders is because you have a socialist running in your party. You're a private corporation. Do you want a fucking socialist running your shit?
If he's going to harm private corporations, then no.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I view Sanders as being with the Democrats as a sort of the term of a sheep herder. I don't know if you know what.
Sheep herder?
Yes.
No.
It's to corral the far left into kind of like herding them back in to vote for who they want you to vote for. So like say they're going with Biden. Now Sanders immediately masses all these votes and it's just like, oh shit, well I guess I didn't get the nomination. Everyone vote for Biden. We have to beat Trump.
Oh, I gotcha.
So now
that's what they did with Hillary Clinton.
Yes.
Because when Bernie got fucked over, he endorsed Hillary
Clinton.
Mm-hmm. I actually heard Tulsi Gabbard, I think, endorsed Joe Biden, I believe.
I'm going to look that up, because that bothers me.
That's just what I heard. I heard at least a few people say that. Don't quote me on it, but...
Well, we're going to find out right now.
Well, yeah, if that's the case, that's really freaking shitty. And I was kind of surprising coming from Tulsi Gabbard, because...
Tulsi Gabbard, it seems to be... Yeah. As of a day ago, Tulsi Gabbard ends 2020 campaign and endorses Joe Biden.
That's fucking bad, dude. Yeah, and then I see all my libertarian friends be like, well, the anarchist ones, they're just like, ha ha, you see what kind of fucking person you are going to support and vote for? All because, I mean, yeah, she has some good anti-war policies that she believes in, but just that, and she was extremely pro-gun control as far as I'm aware, and that's definitely a no-go.
Yeah, Tulsi was actually not a bad pick though. Out of all the Democratic candidates,
she was definitely a better pick than fucking Biden, I would say. But
oh yeah, and that's what pisses me off is everything about this election year. They could have had a fucking phenomenal candidate to go for. They could have had Sanders. They could have had Warren, who was here or there, but I mean Warren was like kind of bottom lining it. Gabbard, definitely. But they didn't. They decided, no, we want Biden. And we want the dude who is visibly a pedophile.
Yeah, really.
So it's also the whole idea of, and another thing with 2016, Michigan in 2016 in the general election, if they would have voted Clinton, she would have. I believe, if I remember correctly,
Clinton would have won.
Clinton would have won popular vote, or no, she didn't.
She already won the popular vote.
She won the popular vote, which is another fucking thing wrong with the electoral college in general, not just with electoralism. She wins the popular vote. That means she should fucking win everything. But that's that's more. That's just me with my direct democracy having ass. Just like, hey, these people with their one vote and one voice saying that they want this person, but of course, dirt can vote too. So,
I'm trying to remember what the argument against that was in favor of the electoral college, and I'm drawing a blank because I really kind of don't give a shit about the political process.
There you go.
So that's that. Yeah, I know there's some libertarians that will provide a valid refutation of that, but I can't think of it off the top of my head because I really don't care.
Yeah, but it's just a lot of the whole point behind, especially election politics, every 4 years or every 2 years we go through this. I don't know why people believe in them anymore. It bothers me when you could have, again, agorism, which is, don't get me wrong, even though I agree with or disagree with some of the terminology, I would rather have more of an agorist style of society than live in one where if my candidate loses, my policies that I vote on will be more about voting negatively because I don't want those policies. And a lot of times, even in America, there's a 30% chance flat rate of anything passing.
It's been shown that just because you like the actual rate of how many people support it really doesn't matter.
No. So again, that's the whole point of voting for candidates instead of voting for policy yourself. Is it's not a representation anyway.
Another thing too that really fucks over voters though is also how much they pack into one bill. You know what I mean? They don't make it simple of, here's a really simple that we're going to do this or we don't do it.
Yes.
You decide.
I'm glad you bring this up because recently with the talks about the whole coronavirus stimulus thing and giving out the 1,000, there was a bill at one point where this is unverified. I'm going to try to do a quick Google search real quick on this. But it was unverified where I think the GOP tried squeezing in an anti-abortion clause to it. Because they didn't want it to pass. So they can just throw in something in there that they're like, oh, the Democrats won't vote on this. So I think that's shitty.
And now this brings up to the side of each side just tries to fuck the other one over, and they really don't give a shit about the voters.
Yeah. And it's like the whole idea that I was placed here to represent people and make the people that put me here make their lives better. I'm going to immediately just say fuck that and fuck that guy over. Fuck that guy in particular. Fuck him. I don't care. He's from a rival district. I don't care. If I go over there, I'm fighting him. Like, it's literally, that's kind of how I envision it because it makes no sense. There's no democratic process in there. It's all authoritarian. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter if it's a red boot or a blue boot. It's still on your face.
Yeah.
So the whole thing about this is I can't fucking stress this enough. The only thing that you can do to make these people understand that you don't want this anymore is to simply start standing up for yourself. Whether that is choosing who you buy from, choosing using your what little economic power you have to throw monetary weight around.
It's all about what you choose to spend your time and money.
Yes, to even organizing and advocating for, if you really want to go to those extremes, advocating for an overthrow of the government. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying you should, but legally, I mean...
According to the Constitution, that the
it is legal.
Is supposed to abide by.
Yeah. So, anyway, more about agorism, by the way.
I will say, Konkin wrote why he disagreed with the entire idea of a libertarian party. And so I'm gonna read straight from his book here. So... Libertarians were and still are a pluralistic group. Different interpretations of liberty and how to achieve it were cheerfully tolerated for the most part. The appearance of a party line was anathema to the spirit of living variety. The burning issue shifted from which new libertarian theory works and which does not to which libertarian candidate can we get elected. Too many, libertarianism was a fine theory which had no obvious practice. There are many paths to freedom, and each individual should choose the one he or she thought most workable. One that was chosen, swallowed up by the others. How it did was simple. It tied into the state's grant of monopoly to ideologies that form a centralized political party, and then spokespersons of that ideology were automatically represented as servitors or functionaries of that party, even when they vigorously deny any connection. And so then again, maybe not. Libertarian may have come to mean LP member, but agorists, voluntarists, left libertarians, and such still outnumber the few thousand LP members. This was back when, obviously, it was written.
Yeah.
I believe in the 80s.
Back in the 70s or 80s.
Yeah. And so, basically, the entire idea of having an anti-government ideology be a political party for the government it logically does not make sense.
It's self-defeating.
It is self-defeating and goes against the very theory and practice of real libertarianism.
Yeah, and that's kind of why, especially in the left, like even full like tankies and everything, we laugh at the whole idea that there's an actual libertarian party because it makes no sense. If you're anti-government, why participate? If you're anti-government, why would you participate in a government that you know doesn't want you around?
Well, that's also kind of interesting because it's also fueled by voting.
Mm-hmm. So,
I mean, you could make that same argument against voting, though,
in a
very similar sense, I feel like.
I feel like when it comes into terms of the American Libertarian Party, I feel like it's more of a thing of they're trying to curtail voters back into the system. It's kind of like with the thing with the Green Party, what they did with Sanders and Clinton back in 2016.
Yeah.
It's kind of a way of keeping people separated instead of realizing, wow, this party system is shit. They're like, hey guys, would you like two different parties? And then it's like, wait a minute, this one's kind of on the left and this one's kind of on the right. But hey, look at this. They don't gain any more traction, but I mean, they're like this guy, but better. And then they kind of snake oil salesman into it.
Line.
Yeah. And then eventually you're just like, oh, well, I voted for this one. And then it takes all of your voting power away. And it puts it into someone who can't win. So it's a tactic that is pretty much used just to divide and conquer. And in the end, they won't win. The Libertarian and Green parties do not win in American politics. They never will.
Even though they've been gaining traction, there's still nowhere near any amount of influence enough to change an election.
Yes.
And so my whole thing was, okay, I remember seeing a meme about this years ago. 3-point-something million people voted for Gary Johnson in the 2016 election, right? So you got over 3 million people. Okay, 3 million people vote for one guy one time in one election, nothing happens. Yeah, sure, you get some people in the party, but we all know how people being in the party doesn't make them actual libertarians.
Right.
And so, would you rather have that or 3 million people engaged in a counter-economy that actually understand real libertarianism? That actually did the theory and practice of agorism and were out there building the counter-economy.
Right.
That, to me, is way more important than voting for one guy one time in one election.
Also,
that's going to have a much lasting impact, especially if they're building that culture of agorism.
Yeah, I just for shits and giggles, I looked up Gary Johnson. By the way, great birthday, January 1st. Starting off that year pretty strong, I guess. But funny thing is, he's not. I don't think he's even running this year.
No, he's not.
Yeah. But we got to remind ourselves to come back here because I'm sorry. He was
a shit candidate anyway.
Gary Johnson?
Yeah.
No. This is what one of the motherfuckers running looks like in his official picture. I'm sorry.
Daniel Berman. Daniel Berman, I think his name.
He's got a fucking hat.
He's got a giant
fucking hat.
He's got a
taxation is theft on it. I love it so much I hate it.
Yeah, Daniel Berman, I think his name is.
Yeah. He comes from Texas. Popular vote 2000.
Surprisingly, I have seen quite a few left libertarians or left anarchists too support Vermin Supreme.
Yep.
Which he's actually running for the LP candidate, though.
Yeah. I'm hoping if he gets it, I might actually end up voting for him in the general, honestly, just because. I mean, fuck. Because he is actually probably the most left-leaning out of all these people here, but the way it looks like right now is he's not going to win it. It looks like it's going to...
of course he's not going to fucking win.
Jacob Hornberger.
Hornberger, yeah.
I've never heard of this person. He's the only one who has like a normal-looking...
picture?
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you put it up against fucking Bearman Supreme, this guy's just like, I don't have a hat. And he's like, you know what? You look normal. You don't have a big hat or you don't have a shoe.
Yeah, I can see that.
Honestly, I just want Supreme to be president, just so like people are like, all right, and the American dignitary, the fuck is on his head?
Yeah, really. Well, I think it'd be the most fucking hilarious if Vermin...
Oh, man, I think it'd be
Can you
great.
imagine Vermin Supreme in a national TV debate?
Oh, man. Yes! Please give me this.
I would just watch that out of spite.
Like,
to see what happens.
I mean, we already got a clown for a president. What's worse than... I just want to watch this.
The reason I'm understanding...
But I know that these people know what they're talking about, though. So when I use the term clown as for referring to Trump, he doesn't know what he's talking about, but, you know. Well, these people probably know what they're talking about.
Vermin Supreme has been running multiple times ever since, like, how long? The 90s or something?
But 2004 was his first presidential campaign.
2004? Yeah. So he's been running ever since, and he's doing it intentionally to show just how much of a fucking joke politics is. Which is hilarious to me, and I love it. But I'm still not going to vote for him because I don't really vote.
Yeah, true. He actually participated in Occupy. Back in the early 2010s and everything. Remember the Occupy movement?
I mean, I wasn't politically aware at that time, but I remember hearing about it.
I love this. I'm just going to read like the first couple of paragraphs from him. He's an American performance artist. He's a performance artist, okay? An activist who has run as a candidate in various local, state, and national elections in the United States. Supreme is known for wearing a boot as a hat and carrying a large toothbrush. And said, it gets better. It has said that if elected president of the United States, he would pass a law requiring people to brush their teeth. I mean, that's pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Fucking brush your teeth, motherfucker. Like, his campaign on a platform of zombie apocalypse awareness and time travel research, and has promised a free pony for every American. Tell me this guy doesn't sound like a fucking shoo-in at this point.
He's also going to confiscate your guns and give you better ones.
Yes. You're going to get those laser pistols, boy.
Yeah.
In 2011, he participated in Occupy Boston protests. He's subject to the 2014 documentary Who's Vermin Supreme and Outsider Odyssey, which follows his 2012 campaign as he explores his life as an activist and political prankster. But yeah, funny thing about, as I did mention that Libertarian Party, they don't really get much traction. Gary Johnson was actually a governor at one point.
He was a governor
of New Mexico.
New Mexico.
So,
yeah. Still,
but at that point, he was also a Republican from 1995 to 2003. He was in the Republican Party.
He was not a good candidate. He was basically just a very soft libertarian. He basically reinforced that notion that libertarians
are just soft Republicans.
Are just soft Republicans that support weed.
Yeah.
He's the fucking reason why libertarians are looked at like that.
Yeah. That's the funny thing you mentioned that, because that's literally how I view most libertarians and people who call themselves libertarians. Is because they're literally just like, I just
they're the political kind of libertarians. They aren't the actual philosophical, ideological kind of libertarians. I literally had there's a literally group called Libertarianism or something, and the fucking guy I was talking to in there, he literally defined libertarianism as small, minimal government. I'm like, oh my gosh, you gotta be fucking kidding me, dude. It's not like it has a whole freaking philosophical history behind it.
Right.
You gotta be fucking kidding me. I told him, I was like, wow, I thought this was gonna actually be about libertarianism, but apparently not. It's apparently just a bunch of newfound republicanism.
Yeah. One thing I do want to touch up on while we're on this topic of libertarianism, and I mean, we didn't really intend to get off track like this, but I'm not going to try to put us back on track. We pretty much explained everything that we need to talk about, but at the same time, it might, fleshing out a little bit of ideologies won't hurt anyone. But there is something that I do remember, and it was actually paramount to the whole thing. It's the idea of the anti-SJW.
And I will say, as a history note, so from when I first became politically aware was beginning of 2016. And this is where it was right in the beginning in January, February-ish that the whole gender is a social construct thing came about.
Yeah.
And so that's when, just from my experience, right?
Yeah.
So that's when I was like, this is fucking stupid. And so I had joined a whole bunch of anti-SJW groups.
Yeah.
And now looking back at those same groups, I'm just like, what
I was in the same boat as you a year later. Because after Trump won, I was kind of salty. And for a bit, I actually had a conservative, like, streak where I was just like, haha, yeah, Trump won, haha. Because I was fucking pissed, man. Sanders lost. I wanted Sanders to win. He lost everything. And then Clinton lost. And I was like, fucking wow, okay. Like, I was being snide. I was being sarcastic like I usually am.
Uh-huh.
And it was, but eventually I snapped back and, got back to my roots. The whole point of it, though, was I joined an anti-SJW group at one point. And I don't remember what I said, but it was something that kind of snapped me back out of it, where it was like, it was just a bunch of white dudes saying the N-word all over the place. I was like,
what, really?
Yeah, I was like, why the fuck you're white? Like, you don't have that privilege. Like, I thought we could agree on this. You don't have that privilege. Like, you're not black, what do you care? I was like, because you're making me look like a fucking asshole right now.
Yeah, really.
I'm like, you want to know, like, what happens when you have a mixed race, like, room, and then one white dude's like, yeah, and says the N-word, and then not all the white people are like,
dude, shut the fuck up.
Like, dude, no, don't say that. Because now they're just like, oh, fuck, well, now all these people agree with him. Like I can't get lumped in with this asshole. Like,
yeah, we'll say a lot of them actually are pretty fucking racist.
Yeah, and I would say a lot of the people with the anti-SJW group just ended up becoming Proud Boys and the likes.
Yeah, they're very alt-rightish, and honestly, this is the problem of when you make you base your ideology of something you're against and not something you're for.
Yes. Thank you for bringing that up. There's been, and that's essentially what reactionary politics is.
Yeah,
it's the idea of reacting to something instead of
being proactive.
Being proactive and standing up for something, you're reacting to something. It's this side wants this, and I hate this side, so I hate them too, and I hate all that. And it's counterproductive.
Also, being reactive means you're dependent upon action of others.
Yes.
You're putting other people in a position of power over you. But if you're the one that's being proactive, no one has influence over you in that manner.
I know. There's someone you're familiar with him. The nationalist, the one dude I always end up butting heads with on my own personal timeline. I've shown you some screenshots of him before, and now that I'm off of Facebook jail, I'm so glad to be back and, kicking his, to quote the great Freddie Mercury, kicking his can all over the place. But he's reactionary in every single facet of it. He makes transphobic jokes. And he doesn't know any better. That's a problem. He's not politically aware. He's not politically awake. He's just doing it because it knows, look at this, it's so funny, boomer humor, bottom text kind of thing. I was like, and literally the entire time I'm watching him do this, I'm just like, you're fucking 23 years old, and you're like, yeah, my granddad laughed at this joke, that means it's funny. And it's like, no, it's not. It's not funny, like, but... And you get so many people like that. And they think that, oh, I triggered you. Ha ha, ha ha, ha ha. Look at me, I'm so smart. It's the Dunning-Kruger effect. That's what it's called. Do you even know what the Dunning-Kruger...
Yeah.
Okay. The whole sense of, oh, everyone hates me because I'm smart,
Yeah.
We actually had QAnon. I don't know if you know who QAnon is.
Yeah, I've heard of them. They're actually aren't they actually... proposed spreading a whole bunch of false information about the coronavirus?
I wouldn't be surprised.
At least that's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a lot of people share some bullshit about it.
It's if the right is organized as they say they are, QAnon is their cybersecurity team. Pretty much all they do is they just go online and just fucking spread seeds of discord through everything. And it's just a bunch of conspiracy theories, and it makes it makes our life a lot harder as leftists to unlearn that shit for people. And because a lot of their shit, it vaguely makes sense so that it kind of like it leads
it's just enough to get people to believe it.
Yes. And then eventually, when they start believing it, then like, oh well, you have a whole bunch of then they bombard them with memes and a bunch of stuff like that, and they're like, oh, this can't be too bad. And it's like in reality, you're normalizing genocide right now. That's what you're doing. But we had one that I was working with, and it was an instance where he was talking to a woman we work with, and she she just said it's not how it works. He was talking to her about something that she would know about, like because she something about like reptiles because she likes sort of snakes and lizards and all that, or something about women stuff. I don't know. Point is, this motherfucker, I've caught him so many times talking over women on like women hygienic issues or women health, and he thinks he knows better because he read an article somewhere. And the funny thing is two stories on this. They're both anecdotal, but I mean, I find them fucking hilarious, and I don't take QAnon seriously because they're just a bunch of idiots. But first one was he was talking to her, and he was like, she said, "No, that's not how it goes." And he's like, "Oh, okay." And then he walks away, and he comes back 5 minutes later. He's like, "Yeah, I just had to walk away from you because I didn't want to trigger you at all."
What? Really?
Yeah, like. His whole entire political ideology is around triggering people. So he thought, I won this battle. And he walks away, and he's a fucking moron. He's just like, dude, no one likes you. And you're making yourself look like a fool out here. Please stop. And he's like, I triggered you. It was great.
Oh, why did I trigger you? Yeah.
So, funny thing is, we had a fascist enabler working with us. And I say that because she joked about Simon, who was his name. She joked about him a lot, but at the same time, she would also participate in the same shit that he would do as well. She was an enabler because she normalized his behavior, while also saying that she doesn't want it, she doesn't like it. But one day, and I was laughing at this because I was like, I hate both of you right now, but I'm going to side with the one that's closer to me politically. So I sided with the woman. And it was funny because it was something with like the it was like the O negative shot. It has to do with pregnancies, and pretty much what it is, it's like
talking about the blood type thing.
Yes,
it's the protein or
yeah,
the protein
yeah.
thing. Is it the protein?
Yep. Yeah,
it's the
protein.
plus and minus the
yes.
factors of the blood.
Yeah. The whole thing about it is like I'm gonna look it up for anyone who's listening who doesn't know what we're talking about.
It's the RH factor, isn't it?
Yes, the RH vector. Thank you.
I know my stepdad. He actually had a sibling of his die because of that RH factor thing. So that's the only reason I know.
But she, our production handler at the time, when she was pregnant, she had that thing going on, and she was telling them, "Well, I got the shot," and then it was like they're arguing about whether or not it was before or after, and it was a whole thing. And then he said, "Well, I read an article about this," and then he tried to back me up because I was sitting there watching this. He's like, "You know what I'm talking about? You agree with me?" And I'm like, "She has proof. She lived through this. I believe her because I know that she has a child, so thus I have reason to believe that this story is true. You read a fucking article. I don't know where you read that article at. I don't know what source that article had. I can't verify it. I can verify that. I can't verify you. I'm siding with this, because honestly, she went through it. She understands how it works. She knows. She's got the procedure and everything." And he's like, "You guys are both wrong. I'm getting out of here. You guys are fucking triggered." And he's like, I'm just like, "You're the one running away from us.
You're the one that's triggered.
How does that even work?" So, but
I'm just envisioning that Trump meme, or the meme of the MAGA hat wearing idiot crying, "You're triggered."
I am completely. I eat my steaks raw. I like them, or no, he's like, I eat a meat, or what was it? Very, very well done. And he's like, I like it like rubber. Yeah, you're so triggered. And he's just like, wow, you're really well adjusted.
Yeah, really.
Matt Boris is one of the greatest comics. But so anyway, to wrap things up, voting is a fuck. It's a fuck. It's
like I said. The best thing that you could do is to get involved with the counter economy.
Yes.
Counter economy, all it means is avoiding the state as much as humanly possible. So, if you're talking about Like, say for example, you need some furniture.
Yeah.
Okay, instead of going to like a store like Art Van or ABC Warehouse or anything stuff, try to find a third party where it's not involved by the state.
Yeah.
And get it from them instead.
Yes.
Get it from your neighbor, your friend, anywhere that you can get away with not paying, like I say, example of sales tax. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this is another view I think it's great for specifically left anarchists because this is a way to get away and to essentially suck some of the consumer base out of the capitalist model they don't like.
Yes. Yeah. As I said, and I don't know if I actually said it on mic, but I am actually pretty open to this whole agorism idea. I might have to look into it a little bit more, but I know I've seen some of my own people that I associate with. They like it a lot. I don't know if you know Max Stedman, but I've seen him kind of tout it.
The name sounds familiar.
He kind of hangs out in the same debate groups that we're in. So
Stedman?
yes, Max Stedman. Yeah, that guy.
I'm not friends with him, but
You probably have mutuals. I know Zizan is friends with them, but whole point of it is
he looks familiar.
yeah, he's not too bad of a dude. I don't even know if I'm using his correct pronouns because I don't know if he's non-binary or not. I think he might have it up in his bio. I think I seen him somewhere saying that he was non-binary, that they were non-binary. So
I don't know.
I feel bad. Oh well.
Anyway,
I've seen it a lot. I've seen egoists a lot. I've seen a lot of things. I want to say egoist is more of also like a weird kind of fringe thing.
I wouldn't say a fringe. Egoists. They generally tend to be more so left anarchists. At least all from my experience, I can only think of one egoist that I know of that leans to the right.
Yeah.
At all. All the other ones I've ever encountered are left leaning in one aspect or another.
Yeah, the idea that like it's the whole self thing, and I feel like that is like one of the biggest things that because a lot of times I see anarchists doing the whole thing like, oh, be gay, do crime kind of joke, which by the way, be gay, do crime. But yeah, it's a lot of like you see a lot of anarchists being like, oh hey, fuck the police and everything, and then you see like the egoists just sitting there just like fuck the police as they're like walking away with like 5 stolen candy bars and they're probably like, I need these are mine now. So
I didn't see that meme, but
it's been around somewhere, but
sounds spooky.
You know what I mean.
Yeah, I can tell. Everything's a spook.
Everything's a spook. But so yeah, anyways, that was it was pretty much a wide joke. I want to say this whole episode was pretty much just us joking around because that's honestly what electoralism is. It's just a big fucking joke to begin with. So, a lot of election politics is pretty much what it is. So it's pretty much just showcasing different kind of ideologies in the end. We didn't intend it to come out like this, I don't think, but I just kind of ran out of questions. I'm like, dude, this agorism thing is fucking awesome. I don't even know why I'm trying to argue against it right now.
Well, I mean, it's because he subscribes to Austrian economics and Austrian economics theory, like basically in terms of suggestive value of theory and the profit motive and
right, and like I mean, yeah, sure.
Division of labor, money.
Like I do have some problems with it on that front, but at the same, the whole idea of the whole property. Actually, I think I actually left off on the whole property thing. I had to think. Oh yeah, concept of property. Yeah, I touched up with it where he opposed the concept of intellectual property, which we both agreed was a good thing.
I read at least the very first half of this. I don't remember him talking about actual property ethics though.
Sometimes implications on the latter term as. Well, I know that he prefers the term. Konkin prefers the term free market to capitalism, mostly because it bears no ties to implications the latter term has in history.
And that's another thing I wish ANCAPs would do is that if they mean, I will say they don't conflate free market with capitalism.
Yeah,
but I see a lot of people, even on the left, anarchists. I guess they'll conflate it. Those two together when an ANCAP says they support a free market.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Both sides do it a lot. mostly comes down to the whole thing of, I feel like agorism could be something that a lot of people could learn from, and I think it's something that a lot of people could benefit from, just knowing the whole counter economy thing.
But see, the thing that he even explains into is most people already do some level of counter economics already. Like the majority of people already try to
Boycott.
Boycott? Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't say that's boycott. Or boycott is part of the counter economy necessarily.
Right.
It can be, but the main thing is that most people already try to get out of avoiding paying taxes as much as possible on their returns. They already try to do that,
Or
like deductibles and stuff like
Or
that.
they try their best to get more back.
Yes.
If you're in cases of, working class where you're at the bottom end of the poverty line.
Yes, and that's exactly a counter-economist action right there.
Yeah.
It's just they need to be consciously aware of that and understand why are you doing this if it's an obligation to do it in terms of state. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I mean, it's ironic. There's this idea that you need the state and support it in this manner, and then you try to avoid doing it in like supporting them in that manner as little as possible. Like, why would you do that if you find it so valuable? Why would you short circuit it?
Right. I'm kind of looking at some other stuff right now, because this is something that interests me that I've heard used a lot, and it's a term called insurrectionary anarchism.
I have not heard that before.
It's a revolutionary theory, practice, and tendency within. It's by the way it looks like it's a left anarchist thing, but it's a movement that emphasizes insurrection within anarchist practice. It's critical of formal organizations such as labor unions and federations that are based on a political program and periodic congresses. Instead, insurrectionary anarchists advocate informal organizations, small affinity group-based organizations. Insurrectionist anarchists put value in attack, permanent class conflict, and a refusal to negotiate or compromise with class enemies. Like, fuck yeah, give me that.
Okay.
I mean, maybe not the whole going against labor unions thing, because I'm a unionist myself, but fuck yeah, give me that.
I would say that's definitely generally a left anarchist position to be in favor of labor unions.
But a lot of the more, from what I've seen, is a lot more anarchists that are around these days are more or less insurrectionaries, because it just seems like a lot of it is just it's mostly just being up against, it's being anti-fascist, it's being against police. It's pretty much just being baseline anarchist kind of thing. So.
Almost no different between an unhyphenated anarchist.
Yeah. From what it looks like is it's just like, hey, we don't care about the economic whole thing. We just don't want a government. Fuck it. Fuck the government. Like, I guess, I don't know.
I mean,
That sounds pretty cool.
I guess that's understandable. I mean, I at that point, I don't understand why you need to specifically say insurrectionist after that.
Because from what I understand is like an agorist, by the way. If I remember correctly, I read that they believe in nonviolent means of change.
Yeah, that's true.
And I believe the voluntary model has the same kind of thing within it. Is it's a nonviolent form of change.
It's a preference. I would say it's not that violence or coercion can never be acceptable. Is that it needs a justification in order to properly exist.
Right.
And so in certain areas, yeah, you know what? Defense against like modern police, that's perfectly fine according to the principles of agorism and voluntarism. And so the thing is that the way Kant envisioned it was that the goal is to build the counter economy to where it is more prevalent and more beneficial to people, where the majority of society will choose to engage in the counter economy versus the actual white market economy.
Yeah.
So it's a gradual switch of goods and services being transferred and more produced in the gray market, and eventually the white market just whittles away because there's nothing left. No consumers, no producers, no nothing. And so that's a peaceful way in order to implement change. generally speaking, it's also kind of an interesting paradigm where you've heard the expression, the more you squeeze a balloon, the more the water gets out of your fingers.
Yeah.
It's basically kind of the same thing where the more the state tries to encapsulate the gray and black market, the more of it gets out of there, the more it expands out of its fingers. You know what I mean? It increases. So if the more loose of a grip the state has on it, the more it's kind of concentrated and it's not super as prevalent because there's really not much of a difference between the white market and gray market besides maybe a few things. I mean, people aren't really going to care that much. But the more it kind of tries to crack down on it, the more people are going to choose to engage in the counter economy. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay. That's basically the whole idea of anarchism, is to underthrow the state, essentially.
Yeah.
Derailing it of its very existence in the market. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No. I mean, I was pretty much done like halfway through this episode, to be honest with you. I just kept it going because we needed to meet the time. But
yeah, I know.
Plus, I mean, again, fleshing out ideologies and giving them showcases might give some people more of a view, so to speak.
Yeah, I think in most cases, at least majority of anarchists I know wouldn't have a problem that labeling themselves agorist, or at least believe in some aspect of agorism.
Right.
Because it's just anarchy, really. It's avoiding the state as much as possible, which, if you want to reach a stateless society, then you're not going to be involved in the state anyway.
Right.
So the whole point is to have actions without states.
Right.
Have non-statist economies, and that's essentially what all about agorism is. It's all about non-state markets.
Yeah. Anyways, I think that's a wrap. So, you wanna go into the whole thing about the anarcho-synergy project, by the way?
Okay, so we partnered with the page Anarcho-Synergism. So, Anarcho-Synergism they're actually working on a thesis right now. So when that comes out, we will share it. But Anarcho-Synergism is basically a collaboration of capitalist and socialist anarchist economies. It's a collaboration between the two. Instead of being a complete dichotomy where it's going to be all this and all that, the goal is to merge the best aspects of both.
Yeah.
And to fully meet people's requirements.
See, I think that's going to be a difficult task because
of course it is.
There's a lot of different values assigned to different things. I don't think it's impossible. I think it's very possible. I just think it's going to be something that we're going to have to put a lot of labor in and a lot of work to do.
Agreed. You see, another one of those things is that when anarchists really get in, well, the new anarchists, right?
Yeah.
When they first become aware of anarchism, and they realize, oh my gosh, there's all these kind of sects, they're like segments of anarchy. They're like, which one do I fall in? And then once they fall in there, they kind of feel like they need to stay there, and they feel like they can't move anywhere.
You can move so much on the political compass, and that's what bothers me. Is people think that it's once you have a political ideology, you can't change.
Which is not true at all. It's not true at all.
I had a friend of mine who I met, and he was a staunch Republican for a little bit, and then I kept talking to him, and me and another one of our mutuals kind of didn't corner him, but every time he would slip up and say something that was like racist or sexist or something, just like, dude, come on, man, you're better than this. We would get in there, come on, dude, you're better than this, and eventually we just kind of like whooped him and say he's not a leftist at all, but he's like, he doesn't like Trump. He considers himself a Republican when asked, but he doesn't like Trump. He doesn't like the whole war thing. He doesn't like a lot of that. So we just think he's like one of those Republicans just because he was heralded into the family.
Or because most of those people call themselves Republicans and
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So again, it was just he's politically immature. He doesn't understand where he falls.
He's more so still relying on other people's ideologies.
Yes, instead of figuring it out for himself.
Yeah.
And as you and I have said in the past, where you've gone liberal and then you've came right back to being more on the right. I've gone right and ended up being fucking sitting here right out on that field, just like, hey guys, I'm going.
Yeah.
So, but the compass changes. You change on the compass. You can move around. No one's gonna fault you. And I've never seen any ideologies like, oh, hey, man, everyone has those moments. Like, everyone that I talk to on a daily basis, maybe, like, 3 of them that I've spoken to and actually gotten close with, like on the whole communist or leftist kind of scale of things, they themselves were like, yeah, I've had moments in my life where I was a shitty human being. Like, I was like, fuck this minority, fuck that, like, it happens. It's a thing. Especially in this country, it's going to happen when you have an authoritarian right regime in power. You're always going to have that, where it's okay, it's normalized. If you're this color, it's normalized to be okay to not like this color, and it's okay to not like this kind of people, and it's not, but it's normalized. Mm-hmm. And same thing with thought processes. You're going to be raised up to being like, you have to work to survive, and then you get and then like, just communism. Well, I don't know how communism really happens economically wise. I don't know how people get into that ideology. I can't explain it to you. It's very different for everyone.
I mean, yeah, people always join different ideologies depending on what they really care about. Like for me, I did not become an anarchist over time due to economics. All I really cared about was the moral principles. And every time that I was shown to be inconsistent, I got mad at myself. I'm like, shit.
Yeah.
And so therefore...
And you got better.
And it's like, all right, I need to be more consistent. And eventually, anarchism is where I landed. And...
I mean, hey, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's not to say that you could, tomorrow you might wake up and be like, man, that fucking Agorist shit was awesome. I think I'm an agorist now. And then now we have to fucking cancel the show because you're not a cap anymore. I'm the com. Fuck you.
This is another debate too. It's like it's what do they care more about, the morality or the practicality? Because there are anarchists that have become anarchists through practical means. The only thing though I have a problem with is that if you get talked into it because of practical, you can be talked out of practical. You know what I mean? Like, the second you find something that, if we have a state that did this, that would be more practical. Now I'm not an anarchist.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can be talked out of that.
And I mean,
but if you understand how moral and ethical human behavior is, you realize there's no way you can even justify a state.
Right.
And so there's no way you can be talked out of that.
I have to say, for me, Bakunin really, really put it together with that even a state that is anyway benign should still just not exist anyway, because if it's a benign state, it doesn't need a point to exist.
Exactly.
But essentially that's something that I feel is something that we should be kind of pushing forward, is a synergetic motion between all of the sects of anarchy, except for anarcho-fascism, or as they call it, national fascism. We don't like you. Fuck off.
Anarcho-fascism is just
it's just communism, but with racism.
I would say it's literally just non-state fucking racism.
Yeah. It's just I'm gonna be a shitty human being. Yeah.
I'm just gonna be a racist.
Like the entire
I'm an anarchist, but I'm a racist piece of shit.
I'm anarcho-racist. Thank you very much.
Anarcho-racist. Yeah, seriously.
And then instead of having like the black and the different color, it's just an all-white flag.
I'm an anarcho-whitist. I'm an anarcho-white piece of shit.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so I don't understand that part.
Anyway, yeah. So go ahead. We've actually kind of hat tipped them a couple times on our own page, and they've done the same with us. They've
shared a lot of our content, and so we really appreciate those guys.
Yeah. So yeah, we're kind of into this all together.
Go follow their page.
Yeah, feel free to look into them.
Yeah, and be on the wary lookout. I don't know exactly when they're going to be releasing their essentially like manifesto.
Yeah.
But definitely be on the lookout for that. And if you have problems with anarcho-synergism and bottom unity, feel free to bring them up. I mean, I don't, because neither of us believe that a true stateless society is going to be all one form of anarchy.
No. I honestly feel like the communal model will probably be what's going to happen, where it's just going to be a bunch of different fucking communes and different like tribes of different ideologies.
I think it'll be an amazing. I mean, hell, they might even come up with a new economic ideology that we never thought of. We have no idea of even knowing it.
You blew my damn mind because I didn't even think that's possible.
Well, that's what I'm saying is that how do you know it's not possible? You know what I mean?
Right.
We won't know for sure until it actually gets to that point where it's like, wow, now that we actually have the ability to do this since it's a stateless society, here's a new model that we can follow. You know what I mean? You never know.
Yeah.
We won't know for sure until it happens.
Yeah.
But you know the whole thing with the free market thing. I find it ironic that so many ANCAPs say, "Oh, I'm so free market." Well, okay. Well, what if a bunch of anarchists say, "Well, the free market decided they didn't want anarcho-capitalism"? I mean, that's the thing. This is why
comes in, just flips your fucking table, flips you off, and then walks out. And they're like, "What are you gonna do about it?"
I don't get this. This is why I'm not a strict ANCAP anymore. I would not label. I used to be, and then I grew the fuck up. Is what I say.
Yeah.
All right. I think we really.
Yeah. I think we're pretty good now. So.
Okay.
See you guys next month.
All right. See ya.